We're trying to get to 100,000 subscribers here on YouTube. We're a little under 5,000 away. I want to get there before my baby girl comes later on in November. And my boss has threatened me if we don't get there that I'm in trouble, apparently. So don't want to get there. So if you want more Cowboys videos every single day and to help me feed my family in the process, subscribe right now. All you got to do is hit that big red button. From my burner account, and this one is maybe too soon, stronger ankles, Amari Cooper or Conor McGregor? I mean, the answer is Cooper. But that was not a pretty sight there for Conor McGregor on that one. Manuel Sanchez, what happens with the Diggs domestic accusations? We did a video on that. It's somewhere on the channel. The gist of it, based on what the people involved had said, was that it wasn't Trevon Diggs. It was one of his female friends who was threatening one of the women that Diggs was involved with. It was a very complicated situation. Man, hit me up on Twitter or check the channel. I'll try and find the video for you, but in the end, it was not really a thing in the end. X2 Pro Skills ranked the Cowboys in the entire NFC. Okay, so I think from a overall standpoint, and I'm not going to necessarily rank them in order like above the Cowboys, but the teams that I take over them right now, if they have Aaron Rodgers, the Green Bay Packers, I think that the Bucs have to be on there because of what they just did. And then I think the Seahawks and Rams are above them. The Rams are pretty close there. I want to put the Niners. I'm not sold. I'm going to group the Niners in that same tier as the Cowboys. Health is a big factor there. I put the football team just behind them. And then I'm not buying the Saints yet. So I think the Cowboys they should be a top 5-ish team in the NFC if the quarterback stays healthy and if the defense doesn't suck this year. From Sir Wilbert, why didn't the Cowboys draft Ar'Darius Washignton? It was a 4th-round value. That's where I had him graded at. Could have got him the 7th. Look, I think in the end, Washignton went undrafted because he's small and didn't test well. Like, that's the end result, I think, for why he went undrafted. I think it's a mistake, but the entire of the NFL, in the end, appeared to agree with the Cowboys. From Gary Sanderson, should Dallas trade for Terrell Lewis for some depth? The Rams just drafted him, so I don't think they're going to move him. He was a 3rd-round pick in 2020, so I don't think that the Cowboys are going to be able to get him right now. Andres Perez says, imagine not being subscribed. Could not be me. Hopefully, isn't any of you out there either. Subscribe right now. Dusty Rhodes, would you consider trading for Justin Reid? This is a good name. If so, what would you give up? The Texans, as producer Jeremy can attest to, are in shambles. He's from Houston. They're in shambles right now as an organization. So if they're going to move Justin Reid, yes, I would call. Now, I got to pay him soon, too, and that might be an issue for Dallas. But I think you could get him for a 3rd or a 4th-round pick, or maybe some other conditional pick thrown in there. I think that's about his value. And even though I'm excited about Damontae Kazee, yeah, I think Justin Reid offers you more impact long-term. So I would call if Houston wants to move on from him. Sam Bam, thank you, ma'am. Is Mike McCarthy on the hot seat if the Cowboys miss the playoffs? I think that's the scenario. Depending on how they get there, that it starts to make sense. For example, if the Cowboys win 10 games this year, but miss the playoffs like the Dolphins did last year because the football team ended up being great and it was just bad luck against Dallas there. If they win 10 games and miss the postseason, probably not. If the Cowboys go 6-10 this year and Dak's healthy and McCarthy's out there making bad decisions and the team keeps coming out flat or whatever, then yeah, I think that's a fair end game. Now, I don't think that happens. I'd be disappointed if it did. But the trigger is not nearly going to be as long on Mike McCarthy as it was for Jason Garrett. He's not getting 9 years without more success. So I'm not out on McCarthy. Last year was a bit of a wash. But if the Cowboys are bad this year, and I don't think that they should be bad, but if they're below 500 team, I think we have to, at minimum, have that conversation around Mike McCarthy's future. So with that in mind, what is your confidence level in Mike McCarthy? Get your votes in for me, scale of 1 to 10. 1 being almost no confidence, 10 being the most. From Henry, who will get a third down role right from week 1? Or will Pollard be the third down back? I think you mean Zeke will be the third down role or Pollard. Look, you'll see Pollard rotate in, but I don't think it's going to be just Pollard on third downs or just Zeke on third downs. They'll rotate both players. There will be some semblance of a committee, but we'll see how that one goes. From Manny Boy 86, is Kellen Moore on the hot seat with his red zone offense and game managing woes? So where has Kellen Moore had game managing woes? That's my serious question on that front. I think that's more of a McCarthy thing if you've got game management problems. I know the red zone results have been poor. I don't think the play calling in the red zone has been poor. And especially when it was Andy Dalton, the play calling in the red zone was good. There were a lot of missed opportunities. So I think especially if the offensive line can stay healthy, because the Cowboys playbook had to be really dialed back last year. They were not able to do what they wanted to do. I feel good about Kellen Moore. I know the results haven't always been the best, but with Dak and Kellen Moore at the helm, they've scored a ton of points. That's what their job is after all. From Tyrone Sankey, if the season goes down the drain, who would we trade at the trade deadline? If it's a complete disaster, I think you're listening to calls on players like Michael Gallup, maybe DeMonte Casey too. Probably not Amari Cooper. I think Gallup makes the most sense there. Maybe some of the one-year guys signed a Keanu Neal could make some sense. I think those guys with 1 year left on their deal start to make the most sense. Because even if this year's bad, in theory, it'll be better next year. Or at least that's the hope. From William Llewellyn, what do you think of Jimmy Johnson's comments about the Ring of Honor? Jimmy and Jerry will always be petty with each other. At this point, kind of feels like Jimmy gets in, which is long overdue. Jimmy gets in when Jerry's no longer around. From Duke Bothers, your level of confidence the Cowboys will establish a solid backup quarterback by week 1. If you mean outside of the organization, very low. If you mean the Cowboys have confidence in Garrett Gilbert, a little bit higher. Look, the options out there are at least available right now. Matt Barkley, Brett Hundley. It's not great. I doubt they trade for someone. I would call about, a Gardner Minshew. If I can get him for a 4th or a 5th round pick, let's ride. But I don't think the Cowboys are really looking that hard at an expensive cornerback right now, or quarterback right now. JX, would you trade Amari Cooper for a star cornerback? Look, I run into this issue of, okay, well then what am I doing with Kelvin Joseph long term? I would be open to it. I think that is the return I would want for an Amari Cooper type of player. I think it might make more sense maybe next year because you do run the risk of this. You trade Cooper now, and then you mess up and don't re-sign Michael Gallup. Well, now you're down to CeeDee Lamb and who? So I don't think it's a this offseason move, but next year, I think that's when it might start to make a little bit more sense, depending on how things go for the Cowboys in 2021. It's customer service month here at the Cowboys Report, so let me know in the comments if you like the Cowboys Report. Y for yes or N for no. And if it's no, let me know what we can do to make your experience more fun and more entertaining and more valuable at the Cowboys Report. From B-Dog, trade a 2nd and Michael Gallup for Stephon Gilmore. That's too much for me. Gilmore's on the wrong side of 30. I think his trade value is much more in line with what Julio Jones went for, a.k.a. a 2nd and a day 3 pick. It's a bit of an overvalue. It also, again, what am I doing long-term with Kelvin Joseph? Anthony Gregory, what are some real expectations for the health of our offensive line? I expect Zach Martin to be back and fully healthy. I think Biadasz will stay healthy, I hope. Tyron Smith will miss games. He's missed games every year for 5 years in a row. Hopefully it's more like 3 of them as opposed to all but 2, but I think that's the outcome there. As for Lael Collins, I'm hoping the season. I'm hoping that latched hip issue was a fluke. That was not more of a long-term injury issue, more of I hope, a 1-year thing. From XXDWAC, do you think the defense improves? I mean, they have to be better, right? Now, they were better down the stretch, mostly against garbage offenses, but it's not that tough this year. So, yes, I think the offense will be better this season. Jason Shell, pick one safety from the past in their prime to add to this current roster. Are we win the Super Bowl now? I would actually, I still think no, because I don't think you're one piece away on defense. Even if you add prime Darren Woodson, I still think you're a little bit short at immediate cornerback help, and I'd say interior defensive line help. Now, if you could add a premier safety, a premier interior defensive lineman, and or a premier corner over a safety, like if you could add Deion Sanders and Bob Lilly in their prime, yeah, I think this team ends up winning the Super Bowl in 2021. If you guys want your questions on the show, then subscribe. The link is right there, bottom of your screen. You see it. Hit that big red button. That way you don't miss out on anything here around America's team, because we got videos coming out every single day. That's not going away with training camp finally, at long last, just around the corner. B-Dog, how does the defense do this year? 1 to 32. If I can get 16, I think that's a really good step in the correct direction. I think if that's the case, if you can be around league average, that's good for the Cowboys. From Juan Diego, what is your prediction on Zeke this year? I think 1,200 yards plus. If he doesn't return to form, we're going to trade him. Here's the problem. If Zeke averages 4 yards a carry again next year, who's going to want him? Nobody. So that makes it tough to trade him. If he's not good, you're not going to be able to trade him with his contract. From Spidey, who's better, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson? Jefferson was better last season. I think after this season, both Cowboys fans and the consensus, if there can be such a thing in the modern day NFL, will be more along the lines of CeeDee Lamb is the better one. Class of 53, Marcus May in 2022. This is more possible, still unlikely, than a Marcus May trade right now. Look, May, I don't think is back with the Jets. I mean, won't be friends. Well, he'll hit the open market, and then it depends if the Jets want to match the deal or not, or pay him or not. It's a good free agent safety class right now. Tyrann Mathieu, Marcus Williams, Jabril Peppers, Harrison Smith, Jesse Bates, plus Marcus May, and some others potentially also joining that list with big-time years. Most of these guys I think will end up re-signing. So I fall for it every year. And I'm counting on you guys, even though I want it to happen, to tell me no. Tom, you've wanted this for years. You want the Cowboys to make a big-time investment at safety, but it's just not going to happen. I want to believe. I should type in my 0, but I want to type in my 1 for yes. So help me out here. Let me know what you think. Is next year the year the Cowboys finally invest bigly in safeties? 1 for yes or 0 for no. Anthony Gregory, would you feel better about the defense if we got Patrick Surtain? Yes, I would. Because in theory, you swap out Kelvin Joseph like, I'm going to hate myself for saying this, and you guys will too. There is an alternate universe out there in which the Cowboys got Patrick Surtain and also got Trevon Diggs and still got Jabril Cox at linebacker later on, probably somebody else there at linebacker potentially too, and we all feel better about the Cowboys defense. And look, I don't want to spend too much time on Surtain because it's about Micah now, but objectively, we all wanted Surtain, at least most of us did. So I think we all would have felt better too. JX, in a horrible alternate reality, what would our record this upcoming year be if Dak and Daniel Jones switched teams? Marshall Green, our Giants guy here, is in shambles right now. If Dak and Daniel Jones switch team, the Giants win the NFC East with ease because their defense is way better than the Cowboys' defense. And the Cowboys win 5 or 6 games, maybe, somewhere in that range. Wouldn't be very good. Alan Williams, Tom, you say we need help on the defense tackle position. What's your confidence level in Quentin Bohanna? I'm trying to be realistic about Bohanna. I think he can become a solid run stopper. I don't think he's ever going to be an impact pass rusher, though. That's not what he was at Kentucky and probably not his role in the NFL. He was also a 6th-round pick. So The Cowboys have a decent track record of 6th-round picks. Anthony Brown, Donovan Wilson, even Xavier Woods was a great pick for a 6th-rounder. But it's not like he's going to be a top 10 defensive tackle, even a top 25 defensive tackle. I also want some more pass rush help there, like some more proven. There's some young guys with some potential, but very little provenness on the defense line. Provenness is a word, right? Either way, I'm going to pretend that it is. There's not much there in terms of track record at defensive tackle. King shout up on how good they do this season. What draft pick do you think they'll get? What position are they drafting? Look, there's a lot to see what ends up happening there. Like, if you lose Randy Gregory, you're going to look edge rusher. You'll probably look edge rusher no matter what early. I think defensive tackle's in play. Cornerback could be back on the board. Offensive guard could be in play if you let Connor Williams leave in free agency. Maybe another receiver. I think those areas are the ones to watch out for the Cowboys next year in the NFL draft. Now, you mentioned the draft position. So with that in mind, let me know, over or under 10.5 wins this year for the Cowboys. Type in O for over or type in U for under. Get your votes in for me right now in the comments section. Eddie Joe, which non-rookies are eligible for the practice squad? So the rules have been tweaked. You're allowed, I think it's either 2 or 3, I can't remember, maybe it's 4. You're allowed a handful of unlimited experienced guys on the practice squad. The other guys are players who have not met the requirements. There's a list out there from the NFLPA's website, but it's almost always young guys. But technically, all players are now eligible for the practice squad.